Hey guys! So I am in the clubhouse again, and I had a little trouble with my internet over in my tack room for a different meeting. So I hope I'm in the powerhouse and this is the center of the internet here. I'm still at Poinciana because it's like the most amazing place ever. So Jane is the most incredible owner, and she's just like, yeah, go in the clubhouse. Like, that's your place too. Make it your own. So later tonight, Ashley and I are going to do our lecture from here. So that'll be really fun. We've got a new mic system. We're going to give it a go. So hopefully that works how we hope it's going to work. And tonight I want to talk about, since this week has been what has been, great. It's been great. So many exciting things. Like, I can't even keep up on Facebook, so I apologize for not doing too many posts. But, all the horses are getting settled, and it's a really amazing place with lots to see. So I want to talk about that. Not only transporting your horse safe and how, just share some of the tips that we use, as well as settling a horse into a new place. So that's kind of what we've been doing all week. So I thought that would be a great topic to discuss. Next week, I needed a little more time to prepare. So I want to talk about next week when we talk about goals for 2021. Actually, Abby just got on and it was her idea. So shout out to Abigail. When we were talking about goals last week, kind of the last 2 weeks have been about goals. And so I thought it would be fun to talk about how I create goals for myself, like physically, and if I need to do any mental work or how I prepare for that. It's a big season. I've got some Grand Prix horses. I've got some young horses. I've got some horses in between. So I thought that would be fun to talk about, interpersonal goals and how you can make good choices about what might be appropriate for you and how you can go about some of those things and just some of the things I do myself. So that will be next week because I needed a little more time to prepare. So tonight I just thought I would talk a lot about, how we have settled the horses into a brand new place. Again, we've got old horses, mature and seasoned horses who have actually not been that well behaved, I will say. And some baby horses that are just like wide-eyed and like overwhelmed by the whole thing. But that's part of the process. And it's such an amazing horse-friendly place. I know they're gonna love it. It's just a lot to adjust to in the beginning. But a couple of quick announcements because there's so much going on. I'm sorry I have been not sharing enough on Facebook. So I'm gonna I just feel like I finally got settled and like my feet are finally on the ground. I feel like I finally rode well today. So thanks for your patience. But first things first, we are very, very close to 4,500 members in Team Tate TV. And I'm going to give a free membership, a free working student year-long membership to the 45th, 100th member. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your students, tell your trainer, because we're gonna have a really fun time this season. I already have a lot of interviews planned. I'm like surrounded by great riders, like everywhere. Like not only here at Poinciana, like just the other day I was gonna make a funny picture and I didn't have my phone on me, but Christine Traurig was teaching Sabine, who's here, who's a friend of mine. And I just wanted to totally like geek out and like take a picture with them behind me, like Olympians are here. Like top riders are here all the time. There's a ton of great riders that are here, the trainers that are here. Let's see, we've got Sabine, Kristen, we got Jane who has built it, who's a great rider. Then we've got the Hasslers, Katie Riley's here, John Lee Amber's here. I saw Chris Hickey today. We got us on the far side. it's just so fun. Alec comes out for lessons. Gary Rockwell was here. Ann Gribben stays here. I can see Jody Kelly through the bushes. So it's just been a really, really fun place to be. Such nice people. Everyone is so nice. So nice. So that's been just a blessing. But yeah, so I'm going to interview a lot of people. So tell your friends to join Team Tate TV. I'm also going to interview each of my horses because I thought it would be really fun to sort of follow along each of my horses on their journey, not only this season, but for their life. So I'm going to start those interviews. I think probably this weekend would be fun. You know, just so you can get to know them a little bit, you know, see them in their stalls and, you know, kind of become a fan because, I mean, I'm not going to lie, but I have some really fun horses, not just, you know, talented, but just great personalities and just, I got a bunch of hams over there. So that'll be fun for you guys to meet them, to follow through the season. Dun, 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 dun. We did finally come up with a name for the podcast after much debate. And I actually really appreciate everyone's thoughts on that. No, the lecture's tonight, Carol. Calm down. It's okay. Ashley's on her way. We're going to do the lecture here on management matters. But the podcast. So thank you all for all your insight. I thought it was really actually helpful about searching it with the right word. So we came up with Dressage Life with JJ Tate. So be on the lookout for that. We have picked out music and Cerise has put her voice to it. It sounds really good. So we're going to start with some of the Wine About It Wednesdays. We're going to edit it a little bit and just, you know, it's important to just start. It doesn't need to be perfect. Doesn't need to be, you know, exactly what we want in the end. It needs to just begin. So that was the same thing about the Academy. Like there was an opportunity to just go online and just go for it. So that's what we're doing. So it's the same with the podcast, but we want to talk about dressage, you know, of course, because, you know, horse. We always love to talk about horses, but, you know, also I love to talk about like life lessons that we get from horses. I like to talk about interpersonal things, how to deal with having a difficult conversation with your trainer or having a difficult conversation with your student or yeah, just how to be a great leader and all kinds of things. So we thought Dressage Life was perfect because it'll be life talks, but will also be dressage hosted by me. So that'll be fun. So, oh, and also in the Academy, two exciting things actually. We are actually, Cerise, probably as we speak, is publishing the Lesson Library Index. So it's going to be really easy to search for the videos and find them easier because there's like 46 videos in there already. So every week, everybody gets a new video. So, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot of videos. So we wanted to make it easier for when I tell you guys to go watch the Montana video on the bit waiting and yielding, you'll be able to find that a little bit quicker. So Cerise is in the middle of making the new Lesson Library Index and it'll be located in the welcome section. So it'll be way easier to find the videos that you're looking for. And we also have a special little course called The Fundamentals that you can tell your friends if they want to kind of see what the Academy is about. You can purchase the fundamentals and sort of get some really in-depth videos about the seat, how to use the seat, what's it for. There's a couple of lectures in there. There's like 5 riding demos while I'm, you know, same thing. I got a mic on and I'm explaining how to use the seat and all that. And there's a special, oh, thank you, Elizabeth. The fundamentals is excellent. Thank you. I did not tell her to say that. There is also a special little part to the fundamentals that if you missed the sign up, there is a little back door. You can get into the Academy through the fundamentals. So you can get in there and see what everybody is talking about. We are going to have another launch in March around my birthday. So around the beginning of March. So that'll be fun. Yeah, so that's really it about the Academy. So tell your friends all about Team Tate TV because it's about to get real fun, y'all. So can't wait for that. But tonight I wanted to, just because I'm like deep in the process of settling all the horses into this amazing place. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how to prepare horses for the travel. So it's a lot less of a serious trip than we had. We used to come from Maryland to Wellington, and that was long. That was like 18, 19 hours. Of course, I have driven it alone, which I do not recommend. You should not do that. Do not do that. Then I did talk my family members into helping me drive. At that time, I did not take any horses, so it kind of like anybody could come and help me drive the truck and trailer. So that was always fun, actually, to be stuck in the car with my family, either my dad or my mom or my sister Sam. So that was a good time. And Richard, of course, would help too. But now it's only like at MapQuest, like 10 hours, but it always takes us 12 with having to stop and water the horses and get fuel and all that. So it's not a terribly stressful trip in a way, but I find any travel with horses a little bit like not nerve-wracking, but it's dangerous, and if you've ever been in a horse trailer with a horse freaking out, you do not forget that. And that's just something we want to not react to things. Of course, we want to be able to prevent accidents from happening. We want everyone to arrive safely and thrive in their new location. So really preparing on the front end of things is really important. So I have to first, give a huge shout out to Kevin Hennessy of Nobody's Business, who has taken me back and forth to Florida for approximately 15 years, maybe. And now Steve Lohak is like one of his best friends, and he's really close to us in Landrum. So Steve also brings us down. So a huge thank you to Tim and Brian and Bobby and Kevin and Steve, because it's amazing to have a wonderful group of men that I've known for so long who watch out for me and on my truck and trailer. It was just it's always nerve-wracking, and there's a lot of preparation, but having people you trust with the horses and able to help you. There's been a lot of crazy things that have happened with my truck and trailer, and I don't have to go into too many stories. But there was once a fire. Then this last time my check engine went on, and the guys know everything to tell them, they're so great. So I like to travel in a big group. I find there is safety in numbers. It's like a big caravan heading south. I've always done that. I have always traveled with my horses. I'm a little crazy that way, but it's the control freak dressage trainer in me that I just have to be there. And the horses have to see me at the gas, at the fuel stops. And I just feel like they relax a lot more when they see me, when they know that they're traveling in a big herd. I find that it's not a relaxing event, but that's the most relaxed, they can be when they recognize my voice. I have my eyes on them. Like I can tell if somebody needs Banamine on the trip. All kinds of like weird stuff, like Summer, of course, had like a weird piece of hay stuck in her eyeball one time. Fiji would always get I swear to God, he would get motion sickness. So he would always have a little Banamine on the trip. So it's always great to travel with a wonderful group of shippers. And so I love those guys, and I'm always super grateful. So even though the trip's only 12 hours, we do put everybody in box stalls. It's a bit more expensive, if you're really looking to save your pennies, but staying the night at the vet is actually more expensive. So we love to put them all in box stalls, halters off. They've got water, buckets of water, and then they also have their hay on the ground. It's so natural for a horse to eat with their head down, although maybe you could make an argument that they don't maybe balance as well. with their head down, but it's so much better for preventing like shipping fever and just, shipping just junk in their esophagus and lungs. And it's just, horses eat off the ground. That's natural for them. So we attempt to do that the best way possible. So, and the guys who drive me would laugh at this if they're watching. Sometimes Bobby watches, but every morning they get there, I always have to like inspect, how big the stalls are, who's going to go next to who gets along with what, and so I always have to draw out a diagram and figure out who goes where next to whoever, who's going to be the best being the last one on the truck, because that's kind of an anxious spot. So we always try to leave the last two to kind of come off kind of together, so they don't feel, nobody feels like left on the truck, because there's been a time or two that Summer has been on the top of the ramp looking like she just wants to like leap out the door. So I'm always, again, really thoughtful about who's going next to who finds calm in what horses rely on which horses for just calming their anxiety. So yeah, and then like the whole loading process is always a big deal. I am not a big fan of bandages because, and I know the trip from Wisconsin is really far and like 26 hours, 26, 27 hours, it's a long time. But I wrapped a horse, and I'm a good wrapper, and she still ended up with bandage bows. That was, again, like 26, 27 hours on that trailer. So that's just too long for me. But at the end of the day, I like Velcro shipping boots that go over the knee and over the hock, because at the end of the day, if the horse is going to do anything to his front legs, he's probably going to like fall down and like land on his knees. So that's why if you just bandage, it doesn't really protect the knee anyway. So that's why I like to have the shipping boots on that go over the knee, and I put them on as tight as possible. And you always want to make sure the horse is used to it, because the hind boots can sometimes make them kick. So we want to always make sure everyone is used to that and they've worn them before, because sometimes when they go over the hock, it's quite high and it can make them want to like kick them off. And once they're in the box stalls, like it's easier than a standing stall to get down by their legs, but you want to prevent that also, because that's not very safe. So I like to have shipping boots on. If it's a young horse who in the box stall is going to eat them off, so we won't mention any names, Freddie, but he loaded with boots on, and then I took them off because he was just going to eat them the whole entire way down to Florida. So he loaded with them, and then he got them taken off. So he traveled actually totally naked, which at the end of the day is kind of, it's very rare that they're going to like cut their leg in a box stall. There's not a lot to catch their legs on. So I like that. Again, they all travel with a water bucket. They travel with their hay on the ground, halters off. I used to put fly masks on because when we're traveling, when it's hot, there's a lot of hay flying around with the windows open. So I wanted to protect their eyes, but I never load them with the fly masks on because I want them to be able to see where they're going. And now, this last time we went without the fly mask, so my jury is out, which one I actually prefer. Fiji had uveitis, so he always had to have his fly mask on, and I think it honestly helped him with his motion sickness that he used to have. But again, it's just about really knowing your horse and making the right choices for him. We have another horse who had a little bit of an injury over the summer, and he also hadn't really been on a semi. He doesn't have a lot of experience with being on the big semi. So we put him in a straight stall and we tied him up just because he didn't need to be like running around in circles or spooking, or we just kind of wanted to keep him quiet. So along that same line of keeping horses quiet, I am a fan of ACE because I just want everyone's anxiety to just be down. I used to give a lot of perfect products, but now it's just a little bit easier to just give whatever, 2 cc's in the muscle of ACE and just, let them just settle. And then the whole like anxiety part of it is just kind of gone. Of course, we don't do that when we go to a competition, but I bring them in my own trailer and it's a lot less exciting. Like, I think we loaded like 13 or 14 horses. So you can imagine like 2 big semis in the early morning. It's dark. There's just the air brakes and the lights. It's a pretty exciting sight. And the horses are like, what the heck is going on? Where are we going? Am I going? Am I not going? Do I get on first? Who gets on first? It's like, it's a little bit chaotic. So we really make an effort to be really grounded and really centered. And of course, we keep the horses super quiet they have hay in the morning. We skip their grain. They're not going to die from not having their breakfast grain. So I always think the less grain that's in there, the less chance of colic. So no breakfast. I'm a big fan of Aqua Aid. It's like this sugary powder. That's a bad way to describe it, that it's not really sugary powder, but it does have some, it's like an electrolyte, but it makes my horses drink like crazy. So we start that 2 days before we travel. So they get, big buckets and we put a couple scoops in and they just like slurp it down. So I really make sure for the 2 days before we load the horses, they're very hydrated. I make the girls make a chart so we know who's been drinking, how much they've been drinking, because that is the main cause of colic. In my opinion, for traveling is dehydration. They get nervous, they don't want to drink on the trailer, so then they go 10 or 12 hours without drinking. And if it's cold and they haven't been really hydrated before that can really lead to problems. So I get them out. I really am a firm believer of motion. They got to, so it was difficult this time because it was like horribly raining and freezing and raining and blowing. And so we couldn't turn anybody out because everything was underwater. And so usually the girls kick me out of the barn 2 days before so they can just pack. I'm like booted out because I would just like ride until the last minute. So I think I like squeaked my way into, I can ride some horses the morning, like 2 days before, but then that afternoon and the next full day is like full packing. So Ashley then just tells me what to do. And a lot of times they just need me out of the barn because they're got everything organized, and Ashley is amazing at the packing. And the girls this year did a great job, and Rob, everybody pitched in and did great. But what was difficult about it, we had to do a lot of lunging, a lot of riding, because I want the horses' systems to be as normal as possible leading up to the trip. So if they can get out, they can get moving around, everything, their system is still functioning in a almost normal way. And then of course the extra Aqua Aid and documenting how much they're drinking so that I have a sense of who might struggle on the trip. I kind of already have an idea about that going into it. So we can also talk about ulcer guard. I'm a big fan of that. So the day before we go, so this year we left on a Saturday. So on Friday, they get half a tube just to prep one day before anything happens. And then a full tube on the morning of travel, a full tube the next day once we arrive, just because their systems are all messed up and it's a new place. And then we follow up for a couple days with another half tube. So during that adjustment period, I think it's really important to support the horse's gut. And, there's just a lot of anxiety about new places, the trip, their immune systems are really stressed. We don't do any type of vaccines or injections 2 weeks before we travel. We really try to space it out because that all of those things bring the horse's immune system down. And so traveling, they'll be more susceptible to getting sick or it's really hard on their immune system. So we really attempt to make every horse like as strong and as hydrated and keep the program as normal as possible before the traveling. What else? I not only always travel with my horses, but I always have to load them. I always feel like they will follow their rider up the ramp. And so Ashley typically loads her horses. I had Jess come and load Romeo because it was his first trip to Florida. And, all of mine really follow me up the ramp. So I think they find that normal and they're used to me loading them to go to horse shows. So they just kind of follow me up. I do have the guys, who are all like big and strong. I do have a couple who want to like just, run down the ramp or leap off the ramp. And so those guys are so experienced and so good. Sometimes I have them unload them for me. So I am so appreciative of those awesome guys. But, the big thing is when you have a horse that is a bit afraid, just really keep their neck down so they take like small steps. The minute they get their head up, they can like launch and leap up, and you want to just make them like put their head down and walk softly down the ramp. So yeah, so then, once we're here, once we're at the destination, we let the horses settle in, we let them eat hay, we give them maybe more aqua aid, and then like maybe after an hour and a half after landing, we take temps. And we continue to take temps for the whole season. Shipping fever is a real thing. And I mean, it can really be serious. And sometimes a horse won't get a fever till 6 days after you get here. So we've now started we just take the temps all the time. We used to always probably 5 days after we got here, but then, you just hear a story about another horse 10 days later got a terrible fever, and had they caught it early. That's the thing with everything with horses. If you can catch it early, you have a fighting chance on everything. Colic, fever, shipping fever, founder, like whatever. So we take temps all the time, and especially after something stressful like shipping like that, taking temps, in the morning, in the evening, is really normal. And then for the rest of the season, we just, a horse can bring something home. I had one horse get pneumonia at my house, and we weren't even going to horse shows, because freaking COVID was happening. So we weren't traveling, but somehow, he just had a rough immune system and a weak immune system, and he got pneumonia. So, and he had never left the property. So crazy things happen. So it's good to take their temps and just have, a thermometer, as part of your tacking up program. So yeah, so then we get into how to settle a horse into a new environment. I think it's so important to know your horse and what they need. Some horses need to lunge it out with no side reins. Some need side reins. Some need to get hand walked a lot. Some need to just get ridden. Every horse is a little bit different. And of course, their age and their temperament and their training all sort of go into that. There's a lot to see here. It's an amazing place. There's a walker. There is like exotic animals on that side of the property. So at feed time, the cows and the gazelle, maybe? I'm not exactly sure what animals are over there, but it gets loud. I have not heard the pigs yet, but I have heard about them. So that's exciting. And then there's like a pond and 2 horses turned out in the back, which sometimes like pop out behind the mirror. And then there is a random place on the side that like changes their turnout like daily. So sometimes like the paint is out there, and then sometimes the roan is out there. Then on Saturday there was the pony. And then they're like 5-year-old children are riding their dirt bikes. Sometimes it's the ATV, but the dirt bikes like go over these little moguls. I mean, it is honestly the cutest thing you've ever seen, like these little tiny kids on these little tiny dirt bikes. My horses are a little scared, and now 2 days ago, there's a foal and a mama. There's a little baby out there. So, you know, that's just like an ever-changing event at the next door place. And then of course we have the quarantine next door where every now and again the stallion gets loose, and that's exciting. So yeah, there's just a lot to look at. You know, there's the blowers are going, and the ATVs for the stall cleaning. You know, it's just like busy, and it's so great for my horses, but the adjustment period can be tough. So, you know, it's always one of those things of like, when we all get used to this, it's going to be great. Just the process is not so easy. So yeah, Freddie's having a little trouble, but I mean, he's always had a really small world. So it's been great for him. And they're all going to be really well adjusted when we get home. But yeah, again, it's just really important to figure out with your horse, you know, horses I typically don't lunge. I've had, you know, it's okay for them to kind of work their bodies through and get focused on the lunge line. So I'm never against that. My older horses, you know, need to get hand walked a bit more, and just so they can like see all the sights and get used to it. But it's so much about just putting the time in and letting everybody just adjust to it. Yeah, we've got a couple horses on the walker, which is great. And yeah, even when we turn them out, it's one of those things of, you don't just like, they have never been there before, and it's like they can all touch each other over the fences. So you want to make sure that the horse is quiet before you turn them loose. So we don't just like put them in the paddock, unclip them, and, you know, wish them good luck. So, you know, we take them in the paddock, we let them hand graze, we let them see everything, we then unclip them, we stay there a minute, and then we like slowly make our way out of the paddock. So it's all just really like smart horsemanship and helping the horses just feel like they've truly landed and they're very settled, and that they need some time to just adjust to everything. But everybody's doing great. We had one little tiny eye ulcer, so shout out to Abby, who put medication in Montana's eyeball like every couple of hours, so that was great. Vithel's horse just arrived from California, so that was, I mean, talk about a trip. That was like 5 days. So 2 days, and he rested a day in Texas, and then he just arrived. So we are happy to see him, and he's doing well. And we had one other horse with a little bit of a fever, but nothing real bad. But yeah, it's important to take temps and, you know, pay attention to the horses, really just check over their bodies to make sure that everything looks normal, and give them time and put your time in. Like, there's so much hand grazing and walking and hand walking and, you know, just letting everybody settle in and feel connected. So I want to say a little toast to all the wonderful shippers out there that we know. My wonderful, I'm going to just change the camera here for a second, because look who walked in. Hey! Because she's the packing queen. So here's cheers to freaking Ashley too. Holy crap. I'm going to document it next time, because there's like so many Stanleys and so many trunks, and she kicks me out of the barn and she organizes the whole entire thing. So we don't really rest till, I don't know, probably day 2, 3. It's like a freaking week of like preparation, and then we do the trip, and then our adrenaline is going, and we want to make sure all the horses are okay, and we don't go to sleep till everyone is pooped and everybody's temperature is okay and everyone looks okay. And then it kind of, you know, there's not a lot of resting until like day 4 when we're like, we made it, everybody's okay. So yeah, so I hope you guys found that helpful. And if you guys got other good ideas for me to chit chat about on Wednesdays, I am happy to take any ideas. Next week, I will definitely talk about how to, you know, create new goals for yourself personally. I'll share a little bit for me what some of my goals are and how I'm going to go about it. And yeah, if anyone has any other questions about that or things they really want me to cover, shoot me a message. All right, so I got to go prepare for my lecture tonight on management matters, because we are doing, I think it's probably lecture 4 about ride your horse sound, because that's a real passionate thing for me. About dressage should make your horses feel good in their bodies. They should feel good in their emotional state, and they should for sure be sounder because you are in their life. So we're going to do that tonight, and that's why Ashley's here, because she's going to team up with me, because she's one of the most wonderful horsewomen I know and helps me manage everything here. So, yep, cheers to that. I'll see you soon. I can't wait to introduce you to all my horses. All right, bye.